Hello everybody, my name is Richard Vigorelli and this is Vigorelli Institute. Now, today is going to be a very special video. I want to have some fun with you while still, doing my thing. And every single time I use the meme of aliens, I want you to take a hit of whatever it is that you do. Be good. Alright. So, when talking about aliens in pop culture or anything else for that matter, a lot of people get really passionate. One of the things that we see in pop culture and also just sci-fi in general is aliens are usually humanoid, and one of the reasons for this is it's a lot easier to cast them. Okay. Now, along with that, we've got the meme of aliens, and that they were deep in humanity's past and basically started our civilizations for us, and they are the gods because whenever we look up to the heavens, we see the gods, etc., which means they are clearly aliens. So, let's have some fun with this, shall we? Alright, now, the universe that we occupy, according to our best estimates, is give or take 14 some odd billion years old. Okay? Now, the planet that I'm on, called Earth, for those of you watching this outside of the system, is give or take 4.5 billion years old. Okay? So, from the time of the Big Bang to right now, to when Earth was a honest-to-goodness planet, not a planetoid or just a bunch of rocks, was 10 billion years, give or take. Okay? So a lot of people say, well, that's a lot of time. Not really. Not in the fullness of the universe, it ain't. We're probably pretty young. Okay? So, let's just say that aliens do happen to exist, which it is a mathematical certainty that they do. That's called the Fermi Paradox. That is, there's X number of star systems, there's X number of star systems that can have planets, there's X number of star systems with planets that can support life. There are X number of star systems that have planets that can support life, that is relatively intelligent, meaning they can figure out how to do things in a new way on any given day. Then there's an X number of star systems with planets that have life, that life is relatively intelligent, that life has figured out how to manipulate its environment and then turn that environment to its advantage. Right now I've just described humans. Now, there's another level. Those, etc., that are able to actually leave that planet and go to another star system. And that's where we run into trouble. Okay? Well, there's a lot of barriers of entry to this. And there's a lot of theories as to why. Okay? Well, the very first one is you need a planet. Okay? And you also, one second, hey! Mari. Thank you, sweetie. Kids. Anyway, that planet also needs to be able to harbor life. Okay? What is life? Well, that's a question for the philosophers. So, since this isn't philosophy, this is slightly more than that, we need to examine this. Well, life is anything that is distinguishable from the natural environment, that can react to the environment in a predictable fashion, and also replicate itself. That's it. That is all life is. Okay? Now, on our planet, there's a little bit more to it than that. First of all, life is carbon-based. That's what organic means. It doesn't mean not raised without any help from humans. Wrong. Okay? Also, hey. Psst. Psst. Daddy's busy. She wants attention. Give me a second. And we're back. Mario wanted some attention. So, back to aliens. You're welcome. So, in regards to life, one of the reasons why we expect life to follow the carbon pattern is because carbon is very, very light compared to other things. But it's also heavy enough to offer enough complexity to that life where you can get repeatable patterns and variations within those patterns that will thus create any kind of changes. Okay? You can't get that with lighter things like, say, hydrogen. Hydrogen is the first element. It is the most basic element. It's got a few isotopes that change it around a little bit, but that's about it. Okay? And helium doesn't play with anybody. It's a noble gas. It's better than you. Anyway. So, you're not going to... So, carbon is relatively the heaviest element and the lightest element that can support the type of complexity that is life. That's one of the reasons why we are looking for carbon-based life and not, say, silicate-based life. Because silicon is, well, sand. Okay? Now, there's other reasons for looking for carbon-based life. One, it'll be a lot easier for us to get along. Two, a lot less energy is required to get the carbon from A to B and then lock it into position to create the molecule capable of building things that are life, like, say, sugar. Okay? Also, Maury. What am I going to do with her? Anyway, with silicon, it's heavy by comparison. Yeah, it's really close to carbon on the periodic table, but it's heavy, okay? And when it interacts with oxidants like oxygen, it tends to make rocks, okay? Quartz is oxidized silicate. Is oxidized silicon, okay? That's quartz. You can find it anywhere, okay? So in order for silicon-based life to for those molecules to be mobile enough to create the complexity of molecules, then, well, we run into a couple of issues, okay? First of all, you're going to need a lot more energy input, and that energy is going to have to come from the outside world, which is going to make things complicated, because as you increase energy, you also decrease cohesion within the molecule. If there's no cohesion within the molecule, then the molecule cannot stabilize, and therefore life cannot form. Which is why most scientists that know anything about physics and chemistry together go like, yeah, silicon-based life, that'd be kind of cool, but I kind of doubt it. Okay? Now, sulfur would probably be a little bit easier to work with. It wouldn't surprise me to find sulfur-based life. Sulfur's reactive. It burns just as easily as carbon does. It reacts with just as many things as carbon does. It could potentially form the right molecular chains the way carbon does. Maybe. but the biology of sulfur-based life would be so radically different that there's absolutely no way we can interact. There's a lot there, okay? Now, one of the things you also have to remember with life is it's lazy. Believe it or not, yes, life is very, very lazy. Nothing has ever evolved that was perfect, okay? It's good enough, okay? Yeah, we could lift 2 tons, but I don't feel like it. How about half a ton? Let's do half a ton, it's fine. Okay? It's like that. Life will only do what it needs to get by. That is, obtain energy and resources and make more of itself. Okay? Whatever systems it comes up with to do that, that's called an organism. Okay? And there's lots of ways. So the very first barrier is having enough complexity in the natural world to have something replicatable that can use the natural world to its advantage. Okay? The next is cooperation. You're probably not going to find a single solitary cell that is going to come up with anything great and wonderful. It's just having enough of a time finding food. Okay? It's not going to write a dissertation. I don't care. Okay? Also, you're not going to find pond scum, even though it is cooperative, that is going to build, I don't know, a building. Now, yes, that stuff will build a nice little mound, but it's not planning the mound. What it builds is incidental, okay? That's what those little rock-looking things are at the Giant's Causeway in Ireland and Scotland, okay? They were incidental. They didn't plan that out, the little organisms that created all of that. What they did was they just grabbed the rock, they just grabbed the dissolved salts out of the water, used that to build a place for the single cells to live so they wouldn't get hurt by radiation and friction and all of that stuff, and then as they died they just kept building and building and building and building. It was A plus B equals C type of thing. Not a lot of planning here, okay? But one couldn't have done it on its own. Others had to do it too. So we've got some cooperation there. It's not sociality. Okay? The next thing that we need is enough complexity within the organism to actually shift and change around. Okay? With greater complexity comes greater possibility of variation and therefore more complexity. Okay? That will allow the organism to be able to do more things. Okay? Isn't that an idea? Also, we need something that can manipulate. That's what these are. These little grasper thingies, otherwise known as hands and fingers, allow me to pick up various objects, like so, or my TV remote, and manipulate it in such a fashion. Okay? It allows me to put things together in such a fashion to make something new. That's called technology. Technology can be anything and everything that is a modification of an object from the natural world to something that can manipulate the world given the right technique. Okay? So, taking a stick, stripping off the bark, and then using that to poke something is technically technology. It's not great technology, but it's technology, okay? Because it's not just a stick anymore. It's a sharpened stick with the bark rubbed off, okay? So that's another barrier. If at any time the organism is not able to get past that barrier, everything after that barrier becomes completely inaccessible and cannot be used by that organism. Okay? The next bit of the organism, in order to be able to ascend to this, is the capacity of not only cooperation but sociality. But on the other side, it also needs to understand individualism. Okay? You need both. Because, just look at animals on our own planet. Deer are remarkably social creatures. So are sheep. Okay? So are sardines. Okay? Remarkably social. So much, in fact, that an individual by itself is essentially dead. Okay? It cannot survive without anyone else. However, there's not a lot of change. Animals like this tend to be extremely predictable in their patterns. That is because they all follow the one in front of them, and the one in front of them just kind of does what has always been done. That's why people that are sheep usually don't amount to much. They just kind of get by. Okay? However, an individual does not have the protection of the group. But the individual, because they need to survive and, face off things trying to kill it, and just day to day, will come up with a lot of very, very interesting abilities. Okay? So you need both. The sociality will create a society of some kind, and the individual will come up with new ways of doing things. Okay? If you don't have both of those working in tandem, the species will never ascend to true sapience. They may be intelligent. Cats, for instance, very intelligent. Mari, very intelligent little creature. She's not going to be creating any kind of technology anytime soon. For one thing, she doesn't have the greatest graspers. Second of all, a little bit too much of an individual. Okay? There's nobody to bounce ideas off of. All right? And when it comes to aliens, there's going to be a lot of work there. Okay? So we need tech, we need individuality, because individuality comes up with new ideas. Now there's something also very interesting about this. Intelligence also tends to arise from two specific niches, generalized niches, that is, within an ecosystem. An ecosystem is how various organisms of various kinds interact with each other and obtain something of a dynamic balance. Okay? You tend to see more intelligence in predators and opportunistic omnivores. Okay? Humans are opportunistic omnivores. Okay? So are things like, raccoons. Raccoons are frightfully intelligent. So are crows and ravens. Okay? Now, raccoons tend to be a lot more individual. They will group together on occasion, but not that well. Okay? Crows, on the other hand, very, very cooperative. Much more than humans, in fact. So are ravens. However, ravens tend to be slightly more individualized than crows are. Okay? But ravens are also a little bit more intelligent. One of their major issues is graspers. Okay? To stand and grasp something, they have to use either their beak or one of their feet. Okay? Kind of limits what they can do. They can't do this. Okay? Kind of important for making technology. Making technology will also increase your intelligence, just as anyone who's ever built anything. You feel smarter because, well, you are. Okay? So, that is another barrier. Okay? Next up is the specific kind of tech. In order to leave the planet, you need metal. Now, if your atmosphere or biology does not permit you to work with metal, either because getting a fire started is completely impossible, so you can't melt it, or you can't get it cold enough to get it to coalesce and become hard again, then you're not going to make anything. Okay? But chances are you are going to be stuck at either the lithic or Neolithic level of technology. That would be the Stone Age. Okay? Regardless of what things are made out of. Okay? You will also need the capacity to reduce work. Okay? That is the ability to drop down the amount of energy needed to accomplish a specific task. One of the ways we did that was through animals, beasts of burden. Okay? We call it horsepower for a reason. It was almost called ox power, but that guy didn't make it. Okay? So, if you don't have something that can spread the workload out, then there's certain technologies that are just not going to be available. There's certain things that you just can't make. If you don't have metalworking, you can't make certain things. If you don't have ready access to food, i.e. agriculture, then you're not going to have the time to actually sit down, think up the stuff that you want to make, because you have to spend all day walking around the middle of nowhere looking for food. That gets complicated. I can only be in one place at one time and do one thing at one time. Anybody who says that multitasking is the key to success is a frickin' moron. Okay? Specialization is much better. Focus is much better. Alright? It's fine to be a generalist, but you'll be a jack of all trades and master of none. There's a reason why that exists. And any business, by the way, who tells you that the key to success is multitasking, they're stupid and they're not going to be around very long. Okay? Now, in regards to aliens, specialization must occur within the society. It occurred in ours. That's how this little camera thing that I'm recording this on even got thought up, because somebody decided, I want to make something based on all of the information that I have gleaned thus far. That way some jerk in Tennessee can record a video about aliens. Okay? Alright. Now, the next barrier that you are going to have to come up with is the ability to harness a couple more of the natural elements. Okay, you're going to have to gain control over water, or whatever fluid it is that your species needs to drive its cellular function. Okay. Also, you are going to have to be able to contain an aspect of your world so that it will always be there. Okay. Also, you have to have the capacity to make a predictable move. So you need math. Math is a universal thing. It has nothing to do with color. So get that out of your head. Okay? Without math, you can't do anything. Physics is derived from math. Chemistry is derived from math. Without that, you can't figure anything out. You have to have it. So, in regards to aliens, their math is probably going to be very, very similar to ours because of certain universal constants. Okay? The next bit is, once they figure out how to harness certain things, they also have to not destroy themselves either purposely or accidentally, like we almost did and almost are doing. Okay? And the hot end, each next barrier becomes that much more difficult to get past. Okay? So, let's say that these aliens are able to get off of their planet. Here's the next piece. This is why it's relevant to us. Why would they come here? What is the point? Why would aliens show up on Earth? Okay? Well, looking at my camera, I see that I've only got a few minutes left of battery power, so I'm going to save this for a part 2. If you're new to the channel, do the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I will be back later with a part 2 on this, as to why aliens would be here. Bye, guys.